Why is everyone seems to be smoking all the time in this movie? Is this like pro-cancer? We'll be discussing that in the movie Boo! Exclamation mark. This one is directed and co-written by Luke Jaden. Now there is another horror movie called Boo that came out a few years ago, also a kind of haunting one. And also you got the Boo Madea Halloween. No, neither of those two. This is a 2019 independent horror film. So what is the story here? Well, it focuses on this estranged family at Halloween. Now, apparently this is also based on this real urban legend within Detroit, where it's kind of like Night of the Demon, where you have this kind of curse that you need to pass on to someone else. So they have this family, and they're all very different, and we'll come on to that. So they get this kind of knock at the door, and their father opens it, and there appears to be some type of Halloween gift bag. And then within this, there's this kind of poem that ultimately kind of curses the family to be visited by paranormal entities unless they pass the curse on to someone else. Now, this family are quick to dismiss it, aside from the kind of young sort of 10-year-old boy who has heard rumours that this thing is real. Now, cut to, obviously, this kind of family then sort of dismissing this, and then, obviously, I should probably expect this being a movie and all that. Real stuff starts to happen, and each member of the family is kind of haunted by things that are kind of personal to them, maybe kind of their fears or traumas that have happened within their lives, and they're kind of horrified and, you know, haunted in these kind of in this manner. So what will happen? You have to watch the movie to find out. So let's discuss Boo! Exclamation mark. So let's talk about what works first of all. So for me, the biggest notable thing here was the confidence of the direction. I feel the director here, Luke Jaden, is very, very confident behind the camera, because there's some definite stylistic choices that this director has, and really kind of gives you the impression this guy knows what he's doing. He knows what kind of film he wants to kind of put across to an audience, and is very clear in his vision. And there are some kind of neat kind of stylistic choices here that I really did kind of appreciate. It actually looks very good. The cinematography is great. The framing is very good. So definitely some confidence behind the camera here. I thought to accompany that, we have some good audio. And what do I mean by that? I feel the music first of all, is very kind of effective. This kind of almost has, it starts off in the 80s, and although it is not a retro film, it almost, you know, has that kind of throwback kind of feeling, some kind of quite good synthy kind of score here. But also some effective use of kind of sound effects and stuff like that. Effects-wise, there are some decent sequences here. There's not actually loads of effects, to be honest with you, and I feel that's obviously a lower budget film. They can't kind of afford to do, you know, huge amounts of kind of stuff on screen. It's kind of good to keep it somewhat kind of, you know, in the kind of the background. But there are some effective sequences here. I really enjoyed. There's actually kind of a ghost, which is essentially a guy with like a sheet over his head, and obviously this is how the young boy perceives ghosts. What he thinks they look like, so that's ultimately kind of how it appears. But I actually thought it was quite good, and the way that was kind of done was handled was quite good, I have to say. The acting, I got to say, from the young boy, I believe his name is Jaden Piner, and also his older teenage sister, who is played by a name I'm going to butcher, Aurora Perrineau. Anyway, both were pretty good as well, and gave kind of believable performances. What doesn't work for me, so here's the big thing for me with this film. I feel the pacing is off of this film, because this film really takes its time to get going. I mean, the actual curse happens relatively early on, but we never really feel there's any sort of threat to the family until, I mean, I'm talking at least 3/4 of the movie in. That's when you really start to sell any type of overt threat to the family. That is when kind of the penny drops that there's something happening. For the rest of the time, outside of this little boy, we do see some kind of visions and stuff, but it's all playful. Oh, I'm just kind of imagining it and things like that. And you know, you just feel the plot isn't progressing. That there needed to be a bit more going on, I would say, in the first 3/4 of this movie, because it's just kind of like treading water for a lot of the time. I have seen some critiques saying the effects were bad, and I don't know. I don't think they are, if I'm honest. There is a little bit of CGI here, and yeah, you can tell it's CGI, but for me, that's part and parcel with a kind of a lower budget film. So for me, that's not a problem at all. But I just thought I'd mention it because there seems to be reading some of the other reviews. It seems to be people have pointed that out. But I actually think it's okay for this kind of this sort of movie here. Some of the acting, though, particularly from the father, it is a little bit over the top. I mean, this guy he's so overtly religious, it just seems a little bit OTT. And I will say that's partly down to the acting, but partly the writing as well. And I don't know if I quite buy this family as this family dynamic. Now, admittedly, they are estranged, so there is problems here. But each member of this family is so different from each other. I just cannot believe this is a family unit that has been together, admittedly, with problems that haven't had... Because it's the most influential people in your lives. So we have this really kind of overt, kind of religious father. His wife, who just doesn't seem to have anything to do with it, and she's just like a massive alcoholic. The teenage daughter, who is this, very kind of like rebellious teenage girl who's got tattoos and all of this. And then we have the young boy who is, very kind of innocent and really just kind of believes things that are said. So they're all so different. I don't know if I quite bought them as a real family. Because they're just so different in character. I think there needed to be a bit more of a common thread within them to kind of make it seem like these people really have lived with each other for all of their lives. Because what I was seeing on screen didn't really kind of say that to me, to be honest with you. When it's all said and done, the actual plot here, there's not a lot to it. Like I've said, this kind of goes hand in hand with the pacing. I feel there needed to be a little bit more kind of going on here because... Although I kind of quite like the idea of this curse being kind of passed on, we have seen it in other films, and but there just needed to be a little bit more to do, I think, because we have kind of individual scenes where our kind of characters sort of see visions of things that relate to them personally that they are kind of fearful of, but there wasn't really enough plot there, unfortunately. So I will say this film has some confident direction. I think it has some good scenes. The acting is for the most part pretty good, but I feel some of the kind of the performances are a little bit OTT. But I also put that down to the writing. So I do not feel this is really a massively great film. I don't think it's one I can really kind of say, oh yeah, you definitely should rush out and watch this. But it's certainly not bad. There are some kind of like some interesting things to see on screen. You may want to check it out once, but I can't see this as this is not a repeat viewing film. Yeah, so it's interesting to see obviously what happens with these guys kind of going forward. There's obviously some good stuff to be had here. But to me, the script was the main problem here, and it definitely needed to be kind of like punched up, have a little bit more kind of going on. And just kind of a bit more of an interesting kind of character arc, really. And what the hell is with everyone smoking all the time? Apart from our 10-year-old boy, everyone always seems to have a cigarette in their hand. Don't understand the thing, it doesn't really factor into the film. But anyway, 5 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.